You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Welcome to the big show, my family and friends. We certainly appreciate it. All of you that join us every day for the multiple books of and authors that we have on the show, the brilliant minds, the CEOs, the billionaires that have been on the show, the astronauts, the governors, all those wonderful, smart people on the show. And as we all know, I'm not one of them. I'm just the host of the show, and I just direct traffic. I think that's my job. It's on my business card. The director of traffic, and sometimes he's a little funny. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing, prolific author on the show. She's coming out with her newest book, May 9th, 2023. Karen White is on the show with us, and she's written 30-plus books. We'll get an exact number out of her in a second. She's the author of the newest book coming out, The House on Prytania, and it's part of her series of a Royal Street novels. And we'll talk to some the other books and stories and things that she tells in her novelistic way. Is novelistic a word? I don't know, but I just made it up.
It works for me.
I call that poetic license. English teachers call me stupid, but that's another matter. Anyway, we'll be talking to her in a second. But in the meantime, as always, with the plugs, go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, and LinkedIn, YouTube, all those crazy places that you find the Chris Voss Show. And you can learn so much more and stalk what we're doing and refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Remember, the Chris Voss Show isn't an MLM, but you do need to have 5 people in your downline of your relatives and neighbors that you may refer to the show. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that, but please, I beg of you. Anyway, Karen White is the New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of 34 books. Is that still right, Karen?
34, 35, somewhere
34.
around there, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And it includes the Trad Street series, The Last Night in London, Dreams of Falling, The Night the Lights Went Out. Was that in Georgia? Anyway, there you go.
That was a tricky question, yes.
There we go. I win, Alex. Questions about Georgia for 100. Flight Patterns was another book. The Sound of Glass, and A Long Time Gone, which is probably my brain. That's about my brain. She is the co-author of The Lost Summers of Newport, All the Ways We Said Goodbye, The Glass Ocean, and The Forgotten Room, with New York Times bestselling authors Beatrice Williams and Lauren Willig. And she grew up in London, and now is her husband near Atlanta, Georgia. Wow. There you go. The Night the Lights Went Out. Welcome to the show, Karen. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. It's fun to have you. Congratulations on the new book. Give us a .com or wherever you want people to find you on the interwebs.
Karen-White.com.
There you go.
Easy. Just put that dash in there. The Karen White, when I first got that, was a porn star. So, but she's not active anymore, but that's why I have a little dash between my first and last name.
There you go. I'm still there's still a hitman looking for the other person who stole my namesake. Under Chris Voss. I think we all know who it is. But anyway, so congratulations on the new book. What motivated you on to write this addition to the Royal Street series that you worked on?
Well, a contract, that also dictates deadlines. No, I mean, I had sort of on a whim, I had started writing my original series, the one set in Charleston, the Trad Street series, and it was very popular. People really loved it. But I realized after 7 books that we were coming to the end. I tortured the characters enough, and but I wasn't totally ready to leave that world. And I know my readers were just they they wanted it to go on and on and on. So I did the next best thing, and I did a spin-off series where I took one of the characters from that first series, a secondary character, and I made her the star of the show in the New Orleans series. And I knew I wanted it to be set in New Orleans. I went to Tulane. I'm familiar with New Orleans. I love the city. And I thought it was a great place for the protagonist, Nola Trenham, to sort of start her life anew. And so that's how we came up with The Shop on Royal Street, which was the first book in the series. And then The House in Prytania is number 2. And I tell people that you don't have to have read the first book in the series to know what's going on. And you definitely don't have to read the first series. I mean, it's more fun if you have time. I mean, come on, the book doesn't come out till May 9th. You have plenty of time. But because I do give you enough information, if you happen to pick up the book on its own, you will not be lost. And then you can always go back and fill in any details you think you might have missed.
There you go. So let's tease out a little bit. One of the things with novels is we can't give away the middle and the ending, of course, which is different than like, political or historical books. But tease us out a little bit, maybe some adventures or different issues she ends up confronting that she's got to resolve. Sure.
So some people, okay, so the main character, she has a graduate degree in historic preservation. So of course, to start her new life in New Orleans, what does she do? She buys an old fixer-upper, a Creole cottage in the Marigny neighborhood of New Orleans. And it is pretty much a dump. She can't live in it yet because it's a dump, no running water, etc. So she actually lives in an apartment uptown, which happens to be the apartment I actually lived in when I lived in New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, during college on Broadway. So Nola, she's 26 years old. She has had a little bit of a journey getting to where she is. She's overcome quite a bit. Including about with alcoholism. And she's got that. She's gotten help. She's clean. She's doing great. The only thing she's not prepared for is the past residents of her house who are no longer living, but have not moved out of her house. And one is quite angry, does not want her there, because he's hiding a secret to an decades-old murder that he doesn't want her getting close to her, finding out, because it will have repercussions on his family who still lives in New Orleans. Wow. So she's not prepared for that at all, because she cannot communicate with dead people like her stepmother can, but she knows someone in New Orleans who can, Bo Ryan, who they sort of have a love-hate relationship. So of course she needs his help, even though she is very reluctant to ask for it.
There you go. She could have called Ghostbusters, though. No,
she could have, but yeah.
So is there a little bit of psychic activity, and we got ghosts and murder?
There is. So Bo Ryan can communicate with ghosts, but I'm always careful when I talk about these books, because even though there is that paranormal element, these are not paranormal books. This is still very much a woman's journey. Nola, the main character, has so much baggage, and she's trying so hard to overcome everything and to move forward. And it's fun to see her struggle. I mean, nobody wants to read a book about a perfect person who always makes the right choices. And I think that's why people root for Nola, because, she's got a great heart. She's a great person, but she's like the rest of us. She's got her weaknesses, and to see her fight to do the right thing, and to fight for her friends, and to see her relationships grow is really, and for her to get stronger mentally and physically is really what this book and the series will be about.
There you go. Empowerment. I mean, certainly if you live with ghosts in your house, last time I checked, they don't respond to, eviction notices very well.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
And they're always causing problems and stuff. But, I mean, if you can get them to pay rent, then you're really in business.
That would be awesome. Yeah. With your dog, if you could only get your dog to pay rent,
Dude, if I could get my dogs, I say that to my 2 dogs all the time. They're Siberians, and so they just look at me stupidly.
They're so gorgeous.
They are. And I'm like, come on, you guys have been laying around the house all this time. You just sleep, eat, and drink. And can you get jobs? And they're like, we got no opposable thumbs. And I'm like,
and then they sigh heavily, like they're the ones going out and earning a living. It's like, What's so hard about your life?
It's a rough job. It's a rough job. So, so she goes through this journey. She's dealing with all this and the thing. You know, a lot of your titles of your books deal with rooms, houses, the attics, and things like that. What do you feel the fascination is to draw from those sort of subject lines?
You know, it's interesting. Since I was a little girl, my mom, I've been obsessed with old houses. And I never lived in one until we moved to London when I was 12. And, but, you know, I remember, you know, my mom like taking me to a dentist appointment and me saying, oh, can you just stop on the curb here? I'm going to look at this house, just because it was old and it had interesting architectural elements. And I don't know what that fascination was. I got a clue when we moved into our flat in London. It had been built. The building had been built in 1904, and so it had, you know, right in the middle of London in the West End, and you know, it had seen so much history, including the London Blitz. And I remember when we moved in, you know, the porter telling us that the reason why some of the windows in the building were not leaded glass and some were was because during the Blitz, some had been shattered and they'd been replaced with plain glass. And that was the first time that I understood my fascination with old buildings. And that was because that was a piece of history I could hold in my hands. And I've always loved history. I've always loved historical novels. I've always loved true history. My father was a huge history buff and would take us to, you know, when we traveled the world, you know, we would go to the castles and the old houses and the parts of our collective history that happened in old houses. You know, I had my wedding photos taken at Washington's, the Thompson Neely House in Washington Crossing, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, which is where Washington planned the attack on Trenton on Christmas Eve. And it's just, I love history. I love the way history is still present, you know, and old houses are certainly a way of almost like time traveling. And I think that's where my obsession comes with. And old houses have these nooks and crannies and these hidden rooms and these staircases, and it's all great, you know. And so, of course, as an author, I love to sort of hone in on that fascination and explore it a little bit more.
They're almost a character into themselves, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All of my books, not just these series, but my single titles always have always an old house, once an old movie theater, but that all represented a community or family or lives that had been lived. So definitely, you know, the history element is alive and well in my books.
There you go. I love that because, you know, old homes that I've been into, you know, there's people that have passed through. You know, when you move into a new home, you're like, hey, they're the first people here. But you're like, wow, people ate here. People raised their children here. They had their lives, their dreams, their passions. They lived, died, passed through. And then, you know, an old home has lots of creaks and noises and as kind of a personality, if you will, that, you know, I remember going into my grandfather's old, I mean, it was an old home to me. It didn't seem to him, but man, I never did like going to that basement.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
creaks and noises.
Oh, yeah. And it has that damp kind of smell, and there's not really windows, and
yeah,
there were no walkout basements back in the day, and they were scary places to this day. Yeah.
Yeah. You just always felt like someone was coming up, or you would look down, and he had these long stairs that would go into the basement.
Yeah. You know, is that where they kept the freezer?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, usually it was usually there was usually a whole dugout too, where you know, puts lotion on its skin or whatever. No, my grandparents.
Oh wow, that's gross.
That's a whole different house.
That Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs reference that always pays off well. But yeah, I mean, there's just a character to it. I mean, even like the beauty of, like, you know, those giant banisters and the giant stairs that they would have, and things like that, and there's a feel to them, and so I think that's cool. It's a character in your books, and probably some personality that adds that flavor, texture, especially with New Orleans and stuff from the South. Those beautiful palatial estates, sort of things they had. Yeah.
They don't
And
make houses like they used to, for sure.
they don't, and they're kind of they make those houses nowadays that are the Levittown sort of
Right.
personality
The
less.
McMansions,
Yeah,
they call them.
the cookie cutters that you see,
Yep.
and you're just like, hey,
Yeah.
wow, every house looks the same here. It's just
So
painted differently.
uninspiring. I know.
Yeah, and houses that are 100 years old or something are they're just incredible, and you
And they're
go through.
quirky, but they're fun quirky. Like you
Yeah,
live with quirks. Yeah.
yeah. But sometimes I probably keep the lights on,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're probably gonna have a ghost. You have a better chance of a ghost in those homes than you do in
Oh, most definitely.
some new Levittown thing that just got built by the local.
Unless it's
builder.
built on a burial ground or something.
There you go.
One
Now
can
we're
only hope.
now we're going full Steven Spielberg poltergeist right there.
Pet Cemetery, yeah.
So, how often do you write books? I mean, you've written 34, 35 set of books. What's in the works for you coming up, and what do you hope people will come away from this book?
So what I'm working on right now, obviously the third book in this series, which will be out in 2025. I don't know when yet. We just finished another collaboration with Beatrice Williams and Lauren Willig, and the title is Super Secret, but that will be out in September of 2024. So yeah, definitely sign up for my mailing list because lots of exciting stuff coming up with that. And then I've just started working on a new single title. I can't give anything away yet, but and I don't know when that will be out. I'm thinking also in 2025. So lots of projects. I had to take a little bit of a break on the single titles just because my personal life was going a little haywire with stuff, including we had a wedding and a funeral within a month, and that was sort of a little bit of a whiplash. But things are settling in, and I'm eager to get back into the saddle and write that next single title. My single title books are a little more emotional and than the series books. And the series books, I get to have a lot of fun. I get to play with ghosts. I get to be a little more funny. Show my sense of humor a little bit more. So these have been sort of a balm to the soul to write, and I've enjoyed writing the series books. But I'm eager. I call them my palate cleansers, and I like to write them in between my bigger single titles. So I'm eager to get back into a regular publishing schedule. So we'll see how that goes.
There you go. A lot of authors that we have on the show that do a lot of books like yourself, they have these different strains or different, rails or however you want to call it, different avenues of different books and characters, and they're doing, and yeah, it helps kind of keep things fresh for them because they can mix and match.
100%. Palette, like having that sorbet, between your starter and your main course, you just kind of need that,
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Well, this should be exciting, and I'm sure your fans are going to love it. Anything more you want to tease on the book before we go?
Yeah. So there is a mystery that is solved in this book, but there is a new mystery that is introduced, as well as a new character who is very mysterious that we won't find out more until the third book. And I don't know what's going to happen either because I haven't written it. So we'll all be surprised and excited. And again, that third book, no title yet, but that will be out in in 2024. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
there you go.
2025. Excuse me. Yeah. What year are we in now?
We're in 23. Last time I checked, but I'm having a hard time.
Goodness.
I'm still in 2022, so I'm still in denial about it. About halfway through the year, I wake up and you go, well, I guess I'm going to accept this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Now I can accept this new year, June 1st. I'll accept it. Yeah.
Usually I get to about December and I'm like, what happened? What the hell?
I can't believe we're in April. But no, the next book in the Royal Street series will be out in 2025. I do know that because it's not next year. It's the year after.
There you go. Well, thank you very much, Karen, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Fun.
Thank you.
I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs.
Karen-White.com.
There you go. Order it up, folks. Wherever fine books are sold. Remember, stay out of those dirty alleyway bookstores. I got to get a tetanus shot the other day when I was in one. You only go wherever fine books are sold. The title of the book, The House on Prytania. It's part of the A. Royal Street novel series, available May 9th, 2023. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time. And that should have us out, Karen.